Hello and welcome to Writers and Books Visiting Authors Series. I'm Kathy Sepna, the Communications Associate here. For those of you who are new to us, Writers and Books is a nonprofit literary arts center in Rochester, New York. We offer readings, workshops, a bookstore, and literary programming for people of all ages and backgrounds. You can find more information at our website, wab.org. Writers and Books would like to call attention to the complex and troubled history on the lands on which we live and work. We are hosting this event from the unceded ancestral homelands of the Onondaga, or the people of the Great Hill. In English, they are known as the Seneca people, or the Keeper of the Western Door. We're so happy to have Robin L. Flanigan with us tonight. She'll be joined in conversation by Writers and Books Director of Communications, Operations, and Special Events, Chris Fandy. First, we'll hear Robin read, followed by a discussion and Q&A. Chris is a public relations professional and community builder. In addition to his role as Director of Communications, Special Events, and Operations, he holds the position of President of the Neighborhood of the Arts Business Association. He currently serves as a board member of the St. Peter's Community Arts Academy in Geneva and sits on the marketing committee of the Cameron Community Ministries. 100 Things to Do in Rochester Before You Die is a local's lowdown on what makes this place so remarkable, no matter the month or the weather. Robin L. Flanigan grew up among the red rocks of Sedona, Arizona, and launched her writing career while living in a Baltimore graveyard. After pounding beats as a newspaper reporter for 11 years and winning numerous journalism awards, she started a freelance business and now produces copy for magazines, newspapers, websites, and marketing collateral. The author of M is for Mindful, a children's book that pairs inspiring verses with vibrant nature-based paintings, her essays have been published in various literary magazines and anthologies. Welcome, Robin, and enjoy.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank
this
you.
Is so exciting. So let's start with you doing your reading. You're going to read a little bit from your book, and then we're going to have a conversation, and then we'll open it up to all of you if you have questions for Robin at the end.
Great.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great. I figured this is not sort of a typical reading. I've been here reading literary essays and, that's just from start to finish. This is not that kind of book. So what I figured I would do is read the preface, and then the book is divided into 5 sections. And so I will read one entry from each section to give you an overview. And I don't have pretty cheaters, so I'm not going to wear them unless it gets really bad. Okay. I've had a personal mantra for years. Know what you want, work hard to get it, accept what comes next. When I was asked to write this book about Rochester, my adopted hometown, I knew immediately that I wanted to honor and celebrate the city in which I've spent nearly half my life. I moved here from North Carolina in 1999 to work as a beat reporter for the Democrat and Chronicle newspaper. My first winter, I learned a valuable lesson. There is no bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. That's because Rochester is a vibrant, active place to be, even in the middle of a snowstorm. In every season, my journalism career, now focused on freelancing, exposes me to history, cultures, and experiences I may overlook without a notebook and pen in my hands. Over the past year, I've taken this education and added to it countless hours of car trips, research, and revisions to transfer from my hands what now is in yours, an absolute labor of love. As for the acceptance part, I only hope that what comes next is a lot of joy and a fair share of surprise as you use this book to delve deeper into what Rochester has to offer. As New York State's 4th largest city, Rochester has been nicknamed both Flower City, F-L-O-U-R, and Flower City with the O-W. Nods to its past, first as the country's largest producer of flour, then is home to the world's largest seed company. The municipal logo pays tribute to both identities by combining a flour mill gear and a budding flower, a powerful statement about innovation and the universal truth that different things can be true at the same time. What I know to be true is that Rochester is both big and small, both culturally sophisticated and quietly charming, both renowned the world over in some ways and a well-kept secret in others, and always endlessly fascinating. Given the format of this book series, the following recommendations are by no means comprehensive, let alone exhaustive. They are instead an honest effort to salute a city that regularly earns national and international accolades for a reason. A special thanks to all the friends, relatives, and strangers who offered suggestions and encouraging words. I couldn't have done this without you. Oh, and one last thing. This book is mostly about places, but please notice the people. They're good ones. So then the first section is food and drink, and I'm going to start with number 1. By the way, I didn't put these in any kind of order. The publisher did. I just submitted them. But number 1 is put calories on the back burner with a Nick Tahoe Hot's garbage plate. You're either devoted to or disgusted by Rochester's iconic junk food, which has earned ink in the New York Times, dubbing it an outlaw dish, and inspired knockoffs around town. The garbage plate, trademarked by the landmark Nick Tahoe Hot's Downtown, is a century-old, cheap, greasy mix of 2 sides, typically home fries and macaroni salad, but baked beans and French fries are other options, and a protein, 2 hamburgers or hot dogs. Jimmy Fallon once told Kevin Hart the dish would give him spider powers. Often viewed as the ultimate hangover food, it packs a whopping 1,700 calories, weighs nearly 3 pounds, and once was named the fattiest food in New York State by Health.com. Parking is behind the building. And so, just so you guys know, there are actually over 160 things in this book, not just 100. And that's because of sidebars like this and tips. So on this page, it says, here are some local versions of the garbage plate. And there are other places, including the Red Fern, which has their compost plate, which is vegan. So the next category is music and entertainment. So it's number 33. Meditate to music from across the ages at Compline. Contemplative, ethereal, the sacred music performed by the Christ Church Schola Cantorum pays homage to Compline, the 4th century monastic custom of private prayer and devotion before bedtime. For 30 minutes, listeners in candlelit pews are treated to Gregorian chant, Renaissance and Baroque choral music, and choral improvisation by an acclaimed vocal ensemble at downtown's Gothic revival style Christchurch, Rochester. Compline is at 9 p.m. on Sunday nights from October through April to accommodate the academic calendar, since many of the musicians are Easton School of Music students. An ancient practice that has withstood the test of time, this is a modern musical meditation like no other. Admission is free, donations are appreciated. And here, sometimes I have tips as well. So this is about a candlelight concert that starts at 8:30 p.m. on the first Sunday of the month during the Compline season. And it talks about that organ is actually a process reconstruction of a late Baroque instrument from 1776. And it's unlike any other contemporary organ in existence. So there's like tips as well in these things. So the next category is sports and recreation. We'll go to number 58. Oh, and I wanted to say that some of these are obvious, like the garbage plate, and then some of these are obscure, like Compline. So I'm going to try to go back and forth with my readings too. So this is another fairly obvious one. Unwind in scenic woodland at Corbett's Glen Nature Park. Seek respite at this 52-acre getaway minutes from downtown. Carved by glaciers and home to a variety of habitats, Corbett's Glen Nature Park is most known for 2 miles of wide, well-marked trails and 3 diminutive cascades, including Postcard Falls. Pass through the historic Corbett's Glen Tunnel just past a privately owned house, once belonging to Patrick Corbett, known as the Celery King, to find a binder dangling from a kiosk. Open it. Tons of vintage photos, including the tunnel as it looked in 1900, sweep you back to a time when picnickers wore petticoats. President Abraham Lincoln's funeral train passed on railroad tracks above the tunnel in 1865. No bathrooms, no waiting in Allen's Creek, officially speaking, and limited parking. And here a tip is about places you can park because it can get pretty crowded. So there are 2 different places to park there. Now we're going to mosey over to culture and history, number 77. And hopefully this is something that a lot of you have not heard before. Contemplate communication at the Cary Graphic Arts Collection. Next to the Gutenberg Bible, the Kelmscott Chaucer is considered to be the most outstanding typographic achievement of all time, and the press used by William Morris to print it is right here in Rochester. The Cary Graphic Arts Collection at Rochester Institute of Technology is one of the world's premier libraries and research centers on graphic communication history and practices, open to the public for lectures, workshops, classes, and exhibitions. Look at a clay tablet from 2100 BCE, the collection's earliest artifact. Sit at a Renaissance book wheel. Wade through the archive of original calligraphy, design work, posters, books, and letters belonging to the late Hermann Zapp, who created Optima, Palatino, and some 200 other typefaces. Appointments accepted after an extensive renovation is completed in fall 2023. And lastly, we're going to go to shopping and fashion. And this is called Restore the Past with Historic House Funds. The antique toilet one of the Smurfs got flushed down, the light fixture that fell on Liz Lemon's head, both come from historic house parts, a well-organized slice of architectural salvage heaven and parts supplier to the stars. The main building, a circa 1890 row house, offers 2 floors of antique hardware dating back to the late 1700s, as well as reproductions. The store has a healthy following of door and cabinet hardware collectors. 2 warehouses are out back, one dedicated to doors, the other to stained glass, shutters, porch posts, bathtubs, and other large finds mined from demolitions and renovations, mostly from Western New York. Plumbing materials have a building all their own. Expect to find everything for the house here, including the kitchen sink.
Oh my gosh, this was so fun to read through. Is just a show of hands, has anybody gone through the book yet? Had the opportunity to? Great, because I have, so I have all the answers. So this is my copy that I annotated with orange on the top were things that I had done, and everything else was things I have yet to explore or stuff that I had been to that place and had not known or experienced something that you put in the book. So
that's impressive. You've done a lot.
It's true. If you want to quiz me, I promise. So I wanted to start by asking you about the dedication at the beginning of the book to Sue, and if you can give us the backstory on that.
Okay, well, actually, that has to do with writers and books. I don't know if you knew that. Oh, you did that?
I'm a plant, but yes.
So I have a very, very dear friend, Sue, and I met her after climbing Kilimanjaro. I came to a class here. She happened to be sitting in the class. She had just finished walking the Camino de Santiago, and we just connected right away. So she's, like I said, a dear friend. She helped, and she's a writer. So she helped me with research. Each one of those titles had to start with a verb. I'm anal. I didn't want to start with the same word ever. So I bounced a lot of stuff off her. And she edited what I wrote just to make sure there were no mistakes. She was just really instrumental. So I dedicated the book to her. I want to make sure that I say it the right way, but I say, to my dear friend Sue, I had Kilimanjaro, you had the Camino de Santiago, we have Rochester.
That's great. I love that. And she has been going around with you, right? You've had her at some
yeah.
So she's still very much part of this experience.
She said, yes, definitely. And she said that her dream job was always to be Ken Burns' assistant. And if she couldn't be Ken Burns' assistant, she would be mine. So I got lucky.
That's so good. You just read at the beginning of the book, your mantra, know what you want, work hard to get it, accept what comes next. And I'm wondering, you said you've had that for years. How has that shaped specifically your work as a writer? Your career has been all over the place with journalism, with, essay, with every kind of writing. How has that worked for you
Wow.
in your
That's a really
career?
good question. So I would say the first thing that's coming to my mind is that you spend so much time and energy creating and thinking about creating. And some people do that just for themselves. I never really did. I always wanted an audience. I always wanted to be published. I always just wanted to share my experience, because I've gotten amazing stories back as a result of doing that. And so it's just been like a kind of a symbiotic thing. And a lot of times you put stuff out there and it doesn't go anywhere. And you have to accept that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the thing that's coming to my mind, I guess, the fastest.
I love that, you know, like put it out, and if it goes one way, you have to accept it. And if it goes the other way, you also have to accept it, and then just move on through that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about, how did you get this gig? How does this book come into being a published piece that it is today?
So I got very, very lucky. Reedy Press is the publisher. There are more than 150 titles around the country in different cities. And Buffalo and Syracuse already had one. Rochester did not. And they called Visit Rochester and asked for the names of writers that they could consider. I happened to be one of the people that they recommended. And then by the time I got the phone call, I just had to say yes. They just called me up and asked if I wanted it. And that's all I had to do was say yes. So I was really, really blessed. I give Visit Rochester all the credit. I had worked with them years and years and years ago. And I'm just very fortunate and thankful.
Yeah. And so they call you up, they say, we want you to write this book. Had you heard about the other ones in Syracuse? Or this
is what's so bizarre. The woman who wrote Syracuse is Linda Lowen. We're friends, but Reedy Press had no idea. So I had been kind of going through the Syracuse thing with her, you know, every now and then. And then I'm the one who told Reedy that we even knew each other. So it was just happenstance, small world.
Funny. Yes, it is the smallest world.
Mm-hmm.
So you say yes to this, and then did you immediately call her up and say,
yes,
what did I just get myself into?
Yes. And there's a Facebook group of Reedy authors. And so I asked them to, yeah.
Oh, what a community.
It is. It's a small publisher. I don't know if it's small or medium, actually. I don't know what they would say. But they're amazing. They have a team of about 15 people. You know, there's a media person, salesperson, you know, and it's just been wonderful working with them.
Oh, that's great.
They asked me 2 Fridays ago to write another book. So
can you tell us what it is?
It's about Rochester. That's probably all I can say, but it's yeah.
Is it about this conversation?
No.
So how long, so when did you get this phone call? How long did this process take? And we'll break that down in a couple other questions, but what is start to end to book in hand?
Yeah, so the book was supposed to come out in the fall of 2022, and I started it sometime in the spring. My memory's not so great about how much research I had gotten done, because in February of 22, I got in a car accident and had a concussion, and I was out of work for a while and had to stop work on this. And they were so great and said, you know, that's okay. Turn it in the fall. We'll put it out in the spring. So I don't remember where I was in the process. I do remember August of 2022 because it was due September 1st. And I spent maybe 12 to 14 hour days, 6 to 7 days a week, the whole month of August, took off my freelance journalism job to do it. Had help with my mom checking every website and phone number and address, and Sue with her help, and had all of this help. And in true journalistic form, I turned it in 3 hours before the deadline.
Better than 3 hours after.
I know. So it was a hard August.
Wow. Sure. Okay. So with that process of researching this, I mean, where do you even begin? Did you know it was going to be 5 sections? Did you have you know, big wall with everything on it. I guess your creative process for putting this together.
Yeah. So because it's a series, the 100 things, there is a format you can choose. You can put your own personality in it for sure, but they tell you how long the entry should be, and you know, that the title has to start with a verb and that sort of thing. But then you can be as playful as you want. So for example, if I'm talking about the Eastman Theater, you know, I was saying note the talent, or if I'm talking about the Eastman House, I said, you know, expose yourself to the history of film.
That was my favorite one.
Was it?
Expose yourself, ... to the history of George Eastman.
Yeah, right, right. So, you know, you can have fun with it. What was the question? Sorry, my recall.
The creative process of going through this, researching.
Yeah, and so it was a mixture of online research, my experience as a reporter, just knowing where things are, and living here almost half my life. I knew a lot of places, Googling, Atlas Obscura, you know, yeah, just a lot of, and then asking Facebook friends at parties, you know.
How many of these do you think you physically got to, that, you know, you're like, oh, I actually need to go to Corbett's Glen and look at this tunnel? Or was it, you know, I can go to their website, I can call someone from the office and get that information?
Yeah, I would say the majority of them I went in person, for sure. I've been in person to all of them, you know, at some point, but for this book, I you know, Sue and I would schedule days to do this, and sometimes there were 8 things in a row, and we just go from place to place to place to place to place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of miles.
It was a lot of miles.
So you were talking about, so there is a format that goes into this, of how, you know, it starts with a verb, how long they have to be. I was wondering, before I knew that fact, you know, was this an exercise in editing? Because they're all about what, 125 to 200 words, somewhere in there.
130.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to say about some of these places.
For sure. It was like poetry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like taking an article, but then making a poem out of an article.
Ooh.
You know, trying to be as creative as possible in a short amount of space. And you can't say everything. So what's the most important thing?
It reminds me of like the difference between posting something on Facebook and then you want to put it on Twitter. So you're like, okay, I have to take out this entire section and use these verbs in this hashtag. The verbs.
Yeah.
Calls to action. How did you do this? I mean, was it easy? Was it hard?
It wasn't always easy, because how many times you want to say discover, explore, embrace. Like there were things that just kept coming up and up. So Sue, again, she gets all the credit. She would be across the table from me with a piece of paper, A, B, C. She had the alphabet in front of her, and we would just be coming up with these verbs, and she would write them down. And if you know, I'd come up with a one for number 58, and she'd say, nope, you have that already. And yeah, she was amazing.
Wow. For writing a book like this, did you, I guess there were other ones to look at, but was there any other inspiration from travel logs, from other writers who have done something like this? Or were you like, I can do this, I don't need any other outside influence?
So Linda, who did the Syracuse book, she was totally my lifesaver, because when I started out, I had a list, but it was just what I thought was cool. I can't really validate or justify why I think something like that should be in the book, because to your point that we were talking about earlier, there were bound to be people saying, well, what about this? Why didn't you put me in? You know, what makes you so special? And so I had been working on it for a while and not really getting anywhere. And then I met her for lunch, and Linda said, it needs to be one of 2 things. It either has to be completely uniquely Rochester, hence the garbage plate, or it has to have had national or international accolades. And that's, people ask me what surprised me or what did I learn the most.
That's one of my questions.
So I answer that one now.
Yeah.
I knew that we were well known, but I had no idea just how many places had gotten attention from national or, world renowned places. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about Rochester that way. I always knew that we were kind of a pearl that didn't get enough credit, but I guess went to a different level in how I feel about it.
When you and Linda met for lunch, was it over a garbage plate?
It was not over a garbage
Just
plate.
wanted to make sure. I had known about Josh Brolin being at Jiva because he had actually, while he was here, taken a writing class at Writers and Books during the same time. But I didn't know about Robert Downey Jr. Also started at Jiva.
A lot of and the Avengers, like a couple Avengers did. Yeah. So they have a lot of world renowned. Now I don't even remember the entry, but there was like a off-Broadway play.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. It's been a while since I wrote it. I should have all of it memorized, but I don't.
Do people when people buy this and ask you to sign it, do they ask you to sign a specific page? Or is it always at the front?
No, it's always at the front. Although I've had the most amazing stories come from people wanting me to sign. So I was at the Winton Library recently, and this woman had just lost her 37-year-old son and asked me to sign it to him and said, to Ike, your presence is here, which was amazing. And then when I was at Lift Bridge Books, a woman came. I was on Evan Dawson's show with Debbie Bauer, and she wrote day tripping around Rochester, day trips around Rochester. Yeah. And so we were on Evan Dawson, and then I was at Lift Bridge Books, and this woman came and said that she had been depressed for years, that her therapist had just recently said, it's really time that you get out and do something. And she goes, and then I heard you on the radio, and I thought, that's how I'm going to do it, your book. So I'm here to buy your book. And you and then just one more, because there are so many. When I was at Webster Barnes and Noble, this couple had been married 50 years. They said that they had traveled the world, and now was their time to travel around Rochester.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Those give me chills.
Yeah.
That's really something.
Yeah. So it goes back to, I thought of all that when you were asking me that question about, that kind of what you put out there, you get back, stories you get back. And I was thinking of that.
Wow. Wow. Something I was wondering, you've lived in Rochester for many years now, and certainly there have been things that have been here that are no longer here. Is there something in your mind that sticks out that you wish was still here that could be in this book?
Oh,
I was thinking like the laser light show at High Falls, right? Like that's something that. Can
I come back to that?
Absolutely. We'll circle back around to it.
Nothing's coming right away.
The end of the book with the different routes for people to take.
Yes.
Was that always included as well? Was that something you had to map out and say, for those of you who don't know, at the very end of the book, Robin gives these activities by season that you can go around and do broken up. And then there's also suggested itineraries for different areas around, downtown. You've got the Erie Canal, free and sometimes free. So just if you can tell us a little bit about putting those sections together. I guess the season one is kind of self-explanatory, but the itineraries I just found so useful. Like what a gem.
Thank you. I like the way you worded the question, which was you said something like, was that always part of it?
As in, is it but like the other one?
I'll tell you, but it is.
Okay.
It is, but I'll tell you why I like the way you phrased it. It was always part of what I needed to do. I didn't realize that until 2 days before my death.
So was it always?
I mean,
yes. I
knew because I'd seen other books, but I just didn't. I was too busy concentrating on what I was doing and forgot.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a lot of work. So I hope you enjoy that part of the book very much. So some of the so I have the natural world for the outdoor enthusiast, Erie Canal. Oh, and Worth the Drive. So people often ask, where are your parameters? So it's Rochester, the suburbs, and I also went to the Jello Gallery Museum because it's just super cool. And
Which I've never been to.
It's worth it for sure. And then Herd Orchards Luncheon, that's a little bit of a drive. Letchworth is the Grand Canyon of the East, so I had to include that. Ganondagan, Genesee Country Village and Museum, and in Rush is the New York Museum of Transportation. So just got out a little bit.
I haven't counted. Are there equal ones in each section?
So yes, there are 20 in each section, but
with the
sometimes there's a box. For example, the Genesee Brew House, that's the main entry. If there's only 20 in the food and drink section, and we have a thriving craft beer scene, I can't also do craft beer for number 2 because I already talked about beer. So so then I made that kind of a box that went along with Genesee Brew House. And then I said, here, you know, we have this thriving craft beer scene. Here are some draft picks. And then I listed maybe 6 or 7.
One of my last questions is, can you share with us one of your highs of creating this book?
Yes. Oh, I get to tell this story. Okay, good. Yes. Thanks for asking that.
That was not planned.
It wasn't. It wasn't. I do have a favorite story. So I was always told that the lift bridge in Fairport, you know, it's no 2 angles are the same. So it's unlike any other bridge in the world, which I knew. And I was going to be writing about the Erie Canal and visiting canal side villages. And I wanted to write about that. And I'd read in multiple multiple sites that it had been mentioned in Ripley's Believe It or Not 16 times. And there are multiple references to this. So, you know, I'm a journalist. I can't just say that. I had to check with Ripley's. So I checked with Ripley's and they said, we've never heard of it. And so they checked their computer system, nothing there. They checked their archives, nothing there.
What?
But because I had told them about it, they have a weekly or daily cartoon, I'm not sure, but on September 15th, 2022, they made it their lead cartoon. It was on a Thursday. And because they did that, I was able to put in my book that it was acknowledged by Ripley's Believe It or Not. Like this. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's my most fun story.
Oh, that's so fun. I guess for now, that's most of my questions. I'd love to hear from anyone out on Zoom or anyone here in the audience. If you have any questions or comments about Robin's experience.
You didn't answer about what you wish was still hearing.
You're right.
Did you need more time?
Just I wish well, because I kept talking. Nothing's coming to my mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
If it does, I'll let you know. Sure.
Yes. Do you have something? Yes. If anyone likes to share their favorite things of Rochester.
Well, I wish there was a down. I wish there were stores down.
Midtown Plaza and the Spa.
But I wish there were the I don't know. Then the movie theaters that were downtown.
RKO Palace, Lowe's, Region.
They were amazing. Amazing. Gorgeous. That's what
They were splendiferous with their red velvet and the chandeliers. It's like going to Hollywood, you know, every weekend when you went downtown to the theater.
Lovely. What else?
I was never here for it, but when I was called our team, we talked about one of the mass ferries in Rochester.
Oh yeah.
That's the
Yeah. I don't even remember how long the Fast Ferry was around. They hardly gave it a chance. Did you ever take it?
No.
Me either.
I looked into it, but there was some reason I did. Yeah.
I have a business question.
Okay.
Are hotels carrying this book and putting one in every guest room? Because that would be a great market for the publisher.
It's on my list. So this book came out in March 15th. And I got word a week or two ago that we're actually going into a second printing already, which was amazing. But I've been, you know, I just I have a list so long, I can't even tell you, of my need to market. And I just haven't gotten a chance to, but that's on my list. And so are Airbnbs. If anybody out there is an Airbnb or VRBO owner, please let me know. I've been partnering with real estate agents who I have bulk pricing for them. And I just talked with a mortgage loan officer yesterday. So but they're great for date nights and family nights, and there's a lot of ways to use the book as welcome gifts if you're a business, waiting rooms.
Yeah,
there's a lot,
got it.
but it's all on a list. It's on the list. You got it. Yeah,
you can only do so many things on the list each day, right? Sue, your
Zoom,
mother,
yes.
everybody else.
My mom's on Zoom. Hi, Mom.
Circle the wagon. Oh, that was great. Great question. Anything else? Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm like incredibly repugnant because I was born in Rochester, left Rochester a bunch of times. We have just returned to Rochester after being gone for 22 years.
Welcome back.
It's like, it's so wonderful. And today I saw that this was happening here tonight, and I'm like all like teary. You know, because we're so glad to be back here. We moved to Nota.
Oh, welcome.
And it's like wonderful. And my daughter, who is now living in Boston, was supposed to move here when we, you know, once we were settled. And now she's long old and her boyfriend got a great job in Boston. Like, oh, no. Anyway, I'm gonna send them. But not before you die, but before we die.
I love it. That's great.
That's one thing parents can send.
That's great.
That's great. You have to inscribe something to them, like this is
Right.
not a threat. This is
Right.
suggestion.
That word has kept some people from buying the book, funny enough.
I believe that.
I was at Barnes & Noble Pittsford and overheard, I heard about, there was this couple at the register. They were an older couple and the wife wanted to get the book, and he just scoffed and said, no, you know, like, die. I don't want to think about that.
Oh,
It was really, it's interesting.
I mean, it has the bucket on it. So
Yes.
to me, that says your bucket list. Like,
I always thought that too. And just a few days ago, someone else looked at it and said, oh, kick the bucket. I know. I had never thought of that before. So, yeah.
yeah, of course. Okay. Woof. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, marketing on that one.
But they all have it. All the 100 books look exactly
They
like
all
that,
have this cover.
except that the picture is different and the
word.
color and the word. Like,
Oh, the background colors?
The background colors are
blues is
different.
Rochester.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to opine that I think the cover does a great disservice to the content of the book. The cover to me is really pedestrian, you know, doesn't really have anything about the humorous voice. It doesn't seem like a joyful book. It looks like something that the Chamber of Commerce
And they're all like that. But it's a beautiful picture, isn't it?
Yeah, that is nice.
Gorgeous picture.
13 to 15, like time frame is very dated.
Yes. Yep. So there's a media person there who has got me on all the TV shows, radio shows. Yeah, he's been great. Yeah.
Was it great to go on Evan Nelson's show?
Well, I've listened to him for years. It was interesting to put, you know, I knew what he looked like and I had seen him, but not sat across and had a conversation with him. So it's a little bit of an out of body experience to be in the studio. I'm much more comfortable in this environment. Plus I've known you for what, 20 something
I was
years.
thinking whenever you were at the DNC.
Yeah, a long time ago. So, I mean, I'm much more comfortable here than being on the radio live with all those listeners and the question. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I'm glad that I did it. I get very nervous.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was great.
Thank you.
It was great.
I won't know that until I get my sales report. Yeah, so I'm hoping I did. Yes.
So your humor is just delightful.
Oh, thank you.
Play on words and all that fun stuff. So I'm just curious about the other books for the other cities. What kind of tone? Are most of them playful and that, linguistically playful? What is the tone in the other books?
I've seen 3, so that's not a great sample. And there's a marked difference in how do I say this nicely? Some people I think are more used to writing about things than others.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that yeah, I probably should stay away. I think I'm digging myself a hole. I'm trying to be.
They're all different.
They're all different.
They're all different.
They're all different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yours is delightful.
Thank you. Thank you.
As a follow-up question to that, how did you decide to go with a more playful and humorous tone?
I don't know if I decided to. I think I wanted to have fun with it. I'm a journalist, and so I write for a variety of clients, and I have way more fun when I'm writing about love for AARP, for example, than federal aid for literacy initiatives. There's just it's just a different type of tone. And so this was I could have brought anything I wanted to this, and so I wanted it to be fun, because if I'm not having fun writing it, you're certainly not going to want to read it. So I tried to have fun.
Oh, that's great. That's a great note to end on. I want to be conscious of time for signing and everything. Do people, another question, final question?
Do you want a tidbit about Corpus Glen?
Sure.
There was a house on fire, not long ago, and they called the fire department. They couldn't get in. They stood there and they watched.
What?
Oof. There was no way for them to navigate the narrow.
Oh, awful.
Yeah. So how do we end?
There's your warning, viewers.
Can I end with a piece of trivia?
Please.
Okay. So Record Archive has the largest number of LPs in the Northeast. Do you want to take a guess of how many are there?
10,000.
Keep going. Keep going. Not that much, but you're close. It's 250,000.
Oh,
lot.
It's a great spot to do all sorts of shopping.
Funky auditory playground, I think, is how I like. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, you are a funky, fun person to hang out with, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to be a part of this night. This has been a real pleasure having you.
I'm grateful you had me. Thank you.
Thanks, and thank you all for being here tonight too.
Thank you. Thank you.